In the heart of post-war London, in a quiet street lined with soot-covered houses and weary faces, there stood a small, unremarkable building, 10 Rillington Place. To the neighbours, it was just another rundown address, the type of place where the smell of coal fires lingered in the air and no one asked too many questions. But behind that cracked facade, in the damp shadows of that house, one of Britain's most horrifying killers was hiding in plain sight. His name was John Reginald Halliday Christie, and for years he managed to live side by side with ordinary people while secretly committing crimes so disturbing that when police discovered what was going on inside, it shook the nation to its core. This is a story of how a quiet, polite man deceived everyone around him, how an innocent man was executed for his crimes, and how the horrors of 10 Rillington Place would forever stain British criminal history. A man who blended in. John Christie was born in April of 1899 in Halifax, West Yorkshire. He grew up in a strict household ruled by a harsh father and a dominating mother. From a young age, Christie was withdrawn and secretive, showing disturbing signs that something within him was deeply wrong. He was intelligent but emotionally detached. As a teenager, he began showing early signs of what psychologists would later recognize as sexual sadism. He developed an obsession with power and control and had a strange fascination with death. During World War I, he served as a signalman where he was caught in a mustard gas attack. Though he survived, the trauma, both physical and physiological, left lasting scars. He spoke in a soft, breathy voice for the rest of his life, something he would later use to his advantage when he played the role of the gentle neighbour. After the war, Christie married Ethel Simpson in 1920, but their marriage was cold and distant. He drifted between jobs, sometimes working as a postman, a clerk, or a special constable during the war. Neighbours saw him as polite and quiet, perhaps a little strange, but never dangerous. No one could have imagined what was really going on inside that little house in Notting Hill. 10 Rillington Place. In 1938, Christie and Ethel moved into 10 Rillington Place, a drab, 3-story building divided into small, cramped flats. The area was poverty-stricken. Crime was common and police presence was minimal. The walls were thin and the ceilings sagged with damp, but it was cheap. Christie lived with Ethel on the ground floor. The upper rooms were rented to working-class families and couples trying to rebuild their lives after the war. It was the perfect place for someone who didn't want to be noticed. During World War II, Christie worked as a police reserve officer, a role that gave him access to authority and trust. He was the kind of man who neighbours went to for help with small problems. But beneath the surface, something was festering, and by 1943, Christie's urge to kill had taken over completely. The first victim. Her name was Ruth First, a 21-year-old Austrian immigrant trying to make a living in war-torn London. She met Christie sometime in 1943, and like many of his victims, she was vulnerable and desperate. Christie offered her comfort and safety. Instead, he strangled her to death. He buried her body in the small back garden of 10 Rillington Place. No one suspected a thing. The murder gave Christie a sense of control and excitement he'd never felt before, and once he'd crossed that line, there was no going back. The murders continue. In 1944, Christie killed again, this time Muriel Eady, a 32-year-old co-worker who came to his flat seeking help for breathing problems. Christie told her that he had a special mixture that could help clear her sinuses. He connected a rubber tube to a jar filled with domestic gas, the same type used for cooking, and told her to inhale deeply. Muriel passed out within seconds. Christie then strangled her and violated her body before burying her beside Ruth in the garden. For years, the bodies lay hidden beneath the soil, just feet away from where neighbours hung their washing and children played. The arrival of the Evans family. In 1948, a young couple named Timothy and Beryl Evans moved into the top floor flat at 10 Rillington Place with their baby daughter, Geraldine. Timothy was a simple, poorly educated man with a tendency to exaggerate, while Beryl was just 19, young and struggling to adjust to married life. Their relationship was rocky, full of arguments and money troubles. John Christie, the quiet, older neighbour downstairs, offered them advice. He told them he could help with Beryl's unwanted second pregnancy using his medical experience. A few days later, both Beryl and her baby were dead. Christie told Timothy that Beryl had died during the procedure and convinced him to flee London to avoid trouble. When Timothy returned a few days later, confused and panicked, police arrested him, and soon he confessed to the crime. But his confession didn't make sense. He was inconsistent, frightened, and clearly manipulated. Still, in 1950, Timothy Evans was convicted of murdering his wife and daughter and hanged at Pentonville Prison. What no one realized at the time was that John Christie was the real killer. The House of Horrors. After Evans' execution, Christie's confidence grew. He now knew he could get away with murder and even frame someone else for it. By 1953, his killing spree reached its most disturbing phase. He murdered his wife Ethel, likely strangling her in her sleep, and buried her under the floorboards. Over the next few months, Christie killed at least 3 more women: Rita Nelson, Kathleen Maloney, and Hectorina McLennan, all lured to the house under false pretenses. He used the same gas method each time, rendering them unconscious before strangling them. He hid their bodies in an alcove behind the kitchen wall, sealing it with wallpaper. And for months, he continued to live in that house, eating, sleeping, and breathing in the same air as his victims. A discovery at Rillington Place. In March of 1953, Christie finally left the property, taking Ethel's ration book and collecting her pension for weeks after her death. He wandered through London, sleeping in cheap hotels and parks, as his old flat was rented out to new tenants. Within days, the new tenant discovered a hidden cupboard in the kitchen wall. Inside, the smell was overwhelming. Police were called, and when they opened up the space, they found 3 women's bodies stacked together, wrapped in blankets. A search of the garden revealed more graves, and the floorboards hid the remains of Ethel Christie. The horrors of 10 Rillington Place were finally revealed. The manhunt and arrest. Christie was on the run for 10 days. He was spotted sleeping on a park bench in Putney and arrested without resistance. When questioned, he calmly confessed, describing each killing with chilling detail. He denied killing baby Geraldine Evans, but admitted to everything else. It then became clear that Timothy Evans had been innocent all along. The press erupted, the public were outraged, and once again, the British justice system were under fire. Trial and execution. Christie's trial began in June of 1953. His defense claimed insanity, but the jury didn't buy it. His lack of remorse and detailed recollections made it clear that he knew exactly what he was doing. After a brief deliberation, the jury found him guilty of murder. On the 15th of July, 1953, John Christie was hanged at Pentonville Prison, the same place where Timothy Evans had been executed just 3 years earlier. The legacy of evil. The case left an indelible mark on British history. The wrongful execution of Timothy Evans led to a major public outcry and contributed to the abolition of the death penalty in the UK. 10 Rillington Place was eventually demolished, but its legacy of horror remains one of the most chilling chapters in the history of British crime. Christie's crimes revealed the terrifying truth about evil that hides in plain sight. The quiet neighbour, the polite helper, the man everyone trusts. The story of John Christie and 10 Rillington Place is not just about murder, it's about the deception of normalcy. It reminds us that sometimes the most ordinary places hide the darkest secrets, and the most polite faces conceal unthinkable cruelty. A monster lived among them, unseen and undetected, in a house that looked just like every other one on the street. And by the time anyone realized what was happening behind that front door, it was far too late.